WNYT reporter Emma Vigeland was at the SALT conference in Las Vegas, and she got an opportunity to speak to former Representative Darrell Issa. And what's hilarious about this story is it's the SALT conference, and it appears that Darrell Issa got real salty during this interview. Take a look.
Within the first month or two of President Trump's time in office, he authorized a strike in Yemen that killed an 8-year-old American girl. So that's not necessarily protecting American lives. We didn't have any, no one looked into that. There were no investigations like we saw with Benghazi. Where do you draw that?
Look, I appreciate your premise, and you have a right to be wrong. And in this case, you're wrong. President Obama fired more drones, fired more weapons against targets that included women and children, and in some cases Americans, than his predecessor.
I agree, and Trump has already surpassed the number of civilian deaths in Syria and Iraq than Obama did in his entire presidency.
You know, you can always look at your numbers.
Okay.
You can always look at your numbers. What a great quote.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Emma has looked at her numbers and she's absolutely right. And I'm going to give you some of those numbers in a minute. But first, let me just note that Darrell Issa was a giant war hawk, warmonger. And part of the reason why is because his biggest donors came from the defense industry. So for instance, Issa received $447,820 from defense contractors between 1997 and 2018. So he loves war, he'll always defend war. He does not care about the drone strikes, he does not care about the civilian deaths. Yes, he will try to politicize it to the advantage of Republicans if there's a Democrat in office. But the reality is, I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican, our actions abroad and the deaths of civilians has been disastrous. And what Emma was trying to get at was, hey, yeah, Obama had his flaws, 100%, but there are issues with Trump and you need to own up to them, and he refused to do that.
But actually that was the second point she made. The first point was a really interesting question, and I think he missed the point of it because he went into his partisan bunker right away. Emma said Obama killed civilians with his drone strikes. So she's criticizing Obama there, as we have done on the show. And she said, but you didn't investigate that, including the killing of American civilians. Instead, you investigated Benghazi. So really interesting question. Why not? And she's not even implying you shouldn't have investigated Benghazi. What she's saying is, when Obama killed American civilians in those drone strikes, why didn't you investigate that? So she didn't ask about Trump in the beginning. But he went to like, oh yeah, Obama's really bad. But that's what Emma said, not really bad, but saying, look, isn't that interesting? And think about that, guys, because you can tell from Issa's reaction, and we got more of it, no fan of Obama at all, right? And now making up numbers, trying to pretend that Trump is better. Trump has actually killed more civilians, but Obama did kill several Americans in those drone strikes, and that's important. But guys like Issa, who hate Obama, totally ignored it. Why did they ignore that when they could have been a big issue? Because the reality is they don't mind the drone strikes for the reasons that Anna gave to you. Check the numbers, as Issa would say, and the numbers show it's legalized bribery, and they all make money off of those wars and conflicts, and that's how Issa stayed in office for so long.
So let's watch a little more from the interview.
President Obama inherited wars that were coming to an end, but he made a decision to withdraw completely, allowed them to ferment, allowed Syria to fall into other hands. And he didn't do it because he's a bad person. He did it because his interpretation of what was to be done turned out to be wrong. We could have similar discussions about George W. Bush.
What about Trump killing all of those civilians in Syria and Afghanistan?
Well, first of all, that's your statement. In a war in which almost nobody wears uniforms, but they kill each other, a discussion of what a civilian is very different.
Okay, no, a civilian is a civilian.
That was amazing.
Right, and by the way, there are groups that track this, and our own military tracks this, and he talked about it in other parts of the interview. And by the way, we'll put the link down below if you're watching this later on YouTube or Facebook to the full interview. Please check it out, because he said he was in the room as they would see, and that the military would make a big effort to avoid civilians, but sometimes they couldn't, and so they would kill the civilians along with their targets. So apparently, even from incredibly far away from a satellite, you could distinguish who the civilians were, but you chose to kill them anyway. And again, the needless partisan bunker there, Emma began by saying Obama did the wrong thing as well in killing civilians, but he goes back to, no, Obama, basically he said he created a wrong situation in Syria that made it worse. In other words, Obama was withdrawing, in Issa's opinion, and we needed more war, not less war. So he doesn't blame Obama for killing civilians, he blames him for not killing enough civilians.
So let's get to the final part of this interview, which I would argue is the most combative and most interesting to watch.
I think you have to take the politics out of it. And for those of us, Republicans and Democrats, and you could talk to Jane Harman or any of the other people that I serve with on the Intelligence Committee, those are hard decisions. And those decisions are not made by the president. They're made by men and women who are trying to get the bad guys and not kill innocents. Thank you.
We can agree to disagree, but thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
We don't have to agree to disagree. Those are all facts.
I mean, I would also say that restraint is lacking deeply in the United States government.
You did go to a liberal college.
I did. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you some context in that, about that comment in a second, and what he said afterwards, and those are awesome, okay? But she ended it cordially. She said, thank you.
She's amazing.
And we could agree to disagree on some of these issues, and he said, no, my opinion are facts. And she said, well, I think we could show more restraint in killing civilians. That's an opinion. He's like, no, okay? Well, you went to a liberal college where they taught you not to kill civilians, liberal. Well, then I guess everybody should go to liberal colleges because killing civilians is it's so bad that I'm pretty sure we've invaded countries over them killing our civilians. Oh, when do you do it to us? It is horrific. Horrific, and every time you talk about it, you must say it's monstrous, horrible. If you even use any neutral terms, we'll claim that you're in favor of killing civilians. Oh, when we killed their civilians, you went to a liberal college, didn't you? So in the beginning, before they began the interview, apparently, Issa asked her where she went to college, but not in like a friendly, cordial way.
Like a confrontational way?
Like, hey, where'd you go to college? And she was like kind of out of the blue, like what, right? And she just said a liberal arts college. And so remember that confrontation with John Kerry and the Republican congressman where he was like, oh, so you studied political science. That sounds like a fake science, right? So I don't know why he asked that in the beginning. And then he went back to, maybe it was because he wanted to set that up, like, liberal colleges lead to not killing civilians, losers, right? So anyway, Stephen Moore, the guy who was appointed to the Federal Reserve by Donald Trump, he wanted him to have that position, recently withdrew because he was, of course, part of a 3-ring circus, and he apparently went to even the Republican senators and squeezed water out of his lapel, the flour on his lapel, into their eyes. And so they're like, no, this guy's a clown, so he withdrew. Anyway, Stephen Moore was supposed to come on next with Emma, which would have been awesome. And apparently Issa told him, no, don't go into that lion's den.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
Look, that's what's great about Emma. She's actually incredibly polite. Just sit down, have a normal conversation. Nothing wrong with disagreeing, and we do the same thing here. I've had 1,000 people on. In fact, conservatives, a lot of them, with the exception of David Duke, say that they get the best, fairest hearing at the Young Turks because we actually have a long enough conversation for you to make your point and for the audience to get a sense of where you stand and where we stand.
But they're so used to reporters playing patty cakes with them. They're not used to reporters who actually know what they're talking about and who are at least willing to ask these questions. And so I actually wanted to look into drone strike numbers because for a long time, and I bought into this as well, there was this belief that Obama was much more aggressive with drone strikes as opposed to Donald Trump. And look, to be fair, Obama expanded the Bush foreign policies and also did do a lot of drone strikes, but Trump has not been a dove. I mean, Trump has been terrible when it comes to drone strikes. I want to give you those numbers. So let's compare Obama first. So in 2009 and 2010, so first 2 years in office, Obama launched 186 drone strikes on Yemen, Somalia, and especially Pakistan. Now, if you look at the first 2 years under Trump, 2017 and 2018, Trump launched 238 drone strikes there, right, in the same countries.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's not dramatically more. It's just more than Obama.
Right, exactly. And also, the Air Force budget documents show a 63% increase in Hellfire purchases in Trump's 2017 budget, and another 20% increase in the most recent budget request. This is a piece that was written in the Daily Beast in 2018. So just understand that it's a little dated, but it gives you some insight into how much the spending has increased when it comes to these Hellfire purchases, and how much the drone strikes increased under Trump as well.
What I love about this, there's so many great parts to it, is that Emma now has a new nickname. Or maybe, I guess, Rebel HQ does, the Lion's Den.
I like it.
Okay, so if you like that, you'll love what's going on in Rebel HQ. They cover all of the progressive news. So go to facebook.com/rebelhq or youtube.com/rebelhq. You'll get more of Emma's videos, more of her interviews, but also progressive events, rallies, and hearings as well. So definitely check that out. Go to the Lion's Den now.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.